Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny and this is episode 144. So yes, you heard that correctly. This is a Danny only episode here, and it's a unique episode because it's actually not a podcast originally. I decided to take a couple of my very popular YouTube videos, which ironically are about my unpopular fitness, vegan, and nutrition opinions, and basically turn them into podcasts so that anybody who listens here but doesn't watch the YouTube video has a chance to hear them as well. So I hope you guys like this. If you enjoy this kind of video, let me know, because maybe we'll do something like this again in the future. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Taylor, co-owner of Vegan Proteins Online Coaching, and today I'm gonna be doing a different kind of unpopular video. Unpopular video? I hope that's not a prediction. I'm gonna be doing a different kind of unpopular opinions video today, and it is going to be responding to your unpopular opinions. So I asked on Instagram what your unpopular opinions were, because you guys love my unpopular opinion videos and I wanted to hear some of yours. It's not fair. I'm gonna keep it anonymous, keep everybody anonymous, but I wanted to go through them, and I got a lot, so I definitely will not be able to get through them all, but I wanted to get through some of them. First one: if you're in a deficit, you will get hungry occasionally, even with mitigating strategies. I 100% agree. Absolutely. I think hunger is part of fat loss. Hunger is part of weight loss. Totally. And I often tell people, like, if you're starting to feel hungry, it's working. Now that doesn't mean somebody should be starving, but people that tell you that you're gonna be able to just like lose weight or get really lean without feeling hungry, like they're just lying to you. That would be nice, but I'm super sensitive to hunger, so nobody wishes this was true more than me, but it's not true. Intermittent fasting is just skipping breakfast. She said it, not me, but I completely agree. I don't have time to exercise. I think she's saying like she can't stand it when people say I don't have time to exercise. Okay, so years ago, I would have agreed. When people say I don't have time to exercise, in the back of my mind, I would just be like, oh God, do you have any idea? Like, you could just do this, 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 and you'd totally be able to exercise. And it's still true. Like, very technically, it's still true. Any of us could stop doing something else and start exercising. Like, it just means we're prioritizing different things. But as I've gotten older, I am reminded that, nah, man, sometimes you really don't have time to exercise, because the thing that you're having to pick between, it's not like, oh, well, I could watch Netflix or I could exercise. It's like, oh, well, I could make the kids lunch for school tomorrow or I could exercise. Like, they're two, you can't. You have, for whatever reason, in certain phases of people's lives, I actually do believe sometimes people don't have time to exercise. And 10 years ago, I would have came here and slapped myself silly for even saying that, but you know, circumstances have changed. I've seen things differently now. You know, I think that it's about building your life around the things that are the most important to you. Then that comes into all these different like scenarios where something just insane just falls into your lap and you're like, oh crap, how do I deal with this? A death in the family, a tragedy, sometimes even really good stuff happens, but it, you know, great job promotion, but your whole world is topsy-turvy for a minute and you really don't have time to exercise. So, you know, I don't think it should be an excuse forever. I think that if it's something important to you, you do need to find a way to work it out and find time to exercise, change the program, make it 2 days a week instead of 5 days a week, just do something. But I guess I just see it a little bit differently at this point in my life. I can't listen to people talk about using a stair climber for a glute workout. Holla. Nobody built glutes by doing the stair climber. Nobody. It didn't happen. Anybody with a giant butt doing the stair climber just probably had a giant butt. I hate it when people say fruit makes you fat. This one popped up a lot. I totally agree. I 100% agree. Fruit absolutely doesn't make you fat. I don't hear that very often anymore. I used to hear it a lot more when like Atkins was huge, but I don't hear it so much anymore. This one is really good. It says, this may be blunt, but some people need to stop whining and try harder. Some people do.
Wow.
Some people do. And you know, that's actually a really hard part of my job as a coach. I coach people one-on-one every day. And sometimes people are too hard on themselves. They like miss their macros by 5 grams one day and they're just absolutely beating the crap out of themselves for it. And other times people are barely putting in the work. They're adhering like 40% week after week, and they're kind of cool with it. And you have to be like, do you want this? Is this a thing that you want? Like, or do you just not want this? And a lot of times that's the question. It's like, is this a priority to you right now or not? It's okay if the answer is no, but let's be real. If the answer is no, and you're not doing the work, then you don't get to complain when you don't get the results, right? Also, side note, this is my own opinion. If you signed yourself up to do something really hard, like compete in bodybuilding, nobody twisted your arm or held a gun to your head to do that. So I know it's hard. I've done it. I've done it many, many times. It's hard, but you chose to do it, so stop complaining. Okay, this is a good one for me. Protein is still too hyped. Husband and I are still strong and muscular and never focus on it. So I agree with this and I disagree with it. I agree with it that in general, in the general world and absolutely in the general fitness world, protein is too hyped. We are eating, like the fitness industry wants you to think you need way more protein than you need. I think in the vegan world, I don't think protein is too hyped. I mean, maybe it's like too hyped for my mouth, but that's just because I get people who shoot me messages like, I don't know why I'm not making progress. And I'm like, send me your food journal. And then it's like 40 grams of protein. And I'm not saying that's the only reason they're not making progress, but it's a pretty big reason why a lot of people are not making progress. Now, I think that if you're like fairly sound-minded and pay attention to like any fitness stuff at all on the internet and eat a balanced diet, you're probably gonna be fine, but I just find most people are not eating a very balanced diet, even though sometimes they think they are, they're just not. Can you be strong and fit without focusing on protein? Some people I think totally can, some people need that extra oomph. And I think to take it to a particular level, aesthetic-wise, I can't speak to all the other sports because I'm not an expert in a lot of other sports, but aesthetic-wise, that bodybuilder fitness model look that people want, you're not gonna eat 1,200 calories to get that look. You're gonna eat a lot more than that, and a good chunk of it's gonna be protein. So I agree and disagree. Oh, you don't need makeup to post on Instagram. I feel attacked.
Oh no!
No, you totally don't need makeup to post on Instagram, but because so much of my day is spent staring at this particular phone making videos for clients all day, every day, I always have a little bit of makeup on, guys. Power to people that don't. I've always loved makeup. It's one of the only girly things about me, actually, is that I just like makeup. I always have. Yeah, you don't need to meal prep to be successful at competing. Ooh, shots fired. Yeah, I agree, actually. And I know who this person is who sent it in, and she doesn't meal prep to compete. I also don't meal prep to compete unless I'm traveling. I'll prep all my food when I'm gonna travel, but I like to make my food as I go at home because I'm eating so little that I like to make it as I go so it's like as fresh and hot and delicious as possible. But yeah, I don't meal prep when I'm getting ready to compete. But I also have the luxury of working at home and kind of working on my time mostly. If I had a crazy schedule, if I was trying to compete right now, I would probably meal prep because I would not want all of those opportunities through the day to have to think, what am I gonna eat? Because every time you go, what am I gonna eat? It's an opportunity to like make not great choices. And I know myself. And I feel like that's kind of the thing. You definitely have to know yourself in order to decide whether meal prepping or anything for that matter is actually for you. Proats are gross. They are just slimy oats. I absolutely agree. I have never had a bowl of protein oats that wasn't disgusting. Telling people to cut out sugar is a waste of breath.
What?
I agree. Should most people eat less added sugar? Yeah, totally. But telling people to just not eat sugar, it's not gonna happen. Like, it's just not gonna happen. It would be like me just telling everybody like, oh, well, everybody should just be vegan. Like, I believe that, but saying it would just be, I might as well say like, yeah, just, you know, everybody should be able to fly. It's just not gonna happen. What's much better is to give people tools to make healthier choices and teach them how to go that route. Yeah, I agree. I'm not replacing a cinnamon roll with an effing apple. I'm eating a cinnamon roll. I don't eat them often, but fruit is not a replacement for a delicious baked dough covered in sugary warm icing, and people need to stop acting like it is. I think that if you really want a treat type of a food, you should probably have it, you know, not all the time, not in large amounts, but a lot of times if you really are craving something and you just try to keep giving yourself a substitute for it, you can very easily eat way more calories in substitutes for the thing you really wanted than if you just ate the thing you really wanted. I do like macro-friendly versions of treats, you know, but they gotta be good. I cannot tell you the number of times, I am so sick of these Instagram accounts that I follow that like the food looks delicious and it's like, oh my God, protein cookie dough, 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of carb, you gotta try it. And then you try it and you're like, this tastes like butt. Like, this is disgusting. It looks good, great for the Instagrams, not good, not even close to cookie dough, and kind of insulting to call it such. This is very similar to the one before. Most people who post glute workouts when it's like donkey kicks and bridges with no weights and they have a huge ass, they probably have just always had a huge ass.
Wow.
Yeah. Or they built their glutes doing stuff nobody's interested in doing, like heavy squats and deadlifts and lunges, but those donkey kicks get the view on Instagram, so that's what they post on Instagram. Vegan cheese isn't the same as cheese. They have improved, but it is not the same. So I can't say. Actually, it has been so long since I had cheese that I can't actually say how close it is or not. I know that when I first went vegan, there was one vegan cheese. It took forever to find it. It was disgusting. Doms Thompson made a video about this the other day on Instagram. It was hilarious. It has gotten better. I think vegan cheese now is awesome. Like so awesome. Not all of them, but some of them, like the Miyokos, all the different Miyokos that she makes, some of them are just absolutely crazy. And I could eat them every single day. I'm a total vegan cheese addict for sure. But I can't say whether or not it's, you know, close to the real thing because I haven't had it in 20 years. Most coaches and personal trainers coach because they look good and they were able to make changes in their own physique. Maybe even genetically gifted, not because they have knowledge. From the mouths of babes. Yeah, I 100% agree. Some of the most popular coaches I know actually don't know anything about training or nutrition or the human body, but they're phenomenal athletes. They're just great athletes. And I don't say just like, oh, that's all they are is great athletes, because they're phenomenal athletes. But when it comes to helping other people, they don't know very much. So I agree. Booty bands are a marketing scheme. Men don't use them and they build their glutes just fine. I've never heard that specifically, that men don't use them and they build their glutes just fine. It's mostly true. I mean, some powerlifters use them in their warm-up routines, but yeah. I think everyone is on steroids until proven otherwise. I know you don't have a problem with it, but I do. It F's with people's perceptions. It's harmful to trick people's reality of what's real and what isn't. So this was in my first Unpopular Opinions video that way more people are on steroids than you guys think. So I definitely for a long time fell into this, everybody's on steroids until I can be proven otherwise. And still, so many people are on steroids. Like, so many people are on steroids. And yeah, I personally don't care what other people do with their bodies, but I agree with this person that I do think it's incredibly harmful for people to talk about their awesome results and leave out a very important piece about how they got there. No, it wasn't creatine that did it, and it wasn't their special protein powder, hashtag use my code. It's steroids. So yeah, I agree. I wish people were more open and honest about it. I understand why they're not, because it's illegal, but I do think that it is really, really messed up a lot of very young people, like boys and girls just out of high school now, just rampant with steroids. Woo! This one could be a whole video. This person says, health at every size is bullshit. Whew. That's a big one. I don't know if I can get into that one within this video, but I think that health at many sizes is true. Health at every size, I don't think that's true. And that goes in both directions, by the way. People that are way too small and much, much larger people. There is a threshold where I think you cross either of those lines and no, you're not healthy anymore. But health at many sizes, yes, and I think we need to see health represented by way more body types than we currently see. So yeah, that's a huge one. Video that I've been meaning, like I want to make that video, but also I kind of don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but I kind of want to make that video, so I don't know. Veganism isn't the epitome of health. If you aren't educated, you're probably going to be fatigued. You can also get sick as a vegan. It's a thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, take your average Joe Schmo on the street. How much do they know about nutrition? Not much, man. Take your average vegan Joe Schmo on the street. How much do they know about nutrition? Not much, man. So yeah, I think that the way that people on a standard American diet can get sick and, you know, be unhealthy and not feel good day to day, people who are vegan, who they can do the exact same thing. Even more so today than 20 years ago when our options were like Whole Foods or nothing, basically. Now, anything that you want can also be made vegan. So we have a whole different set of problems where people are developing sort of like first world sicknesses who are vegan because those foods just exist now. And it's very interesting. And I think that there are so many reasons to be vegan. I truly believe in veganism, like to my core, largely for ethical reasons. I think that going vegan will improve a lot of people's health. However, I don't think that it's a magic bullet from anything. I've known plenty of super healthy vegans who have gotten sick. I know several who have passed away from cancer. Yeah, it's not a magic bullet. Fitness professionals should stop hiding their bad habits as if they have none. No one is perfect. Stop creating unrealistic realities. Yep. Yeah, I agree. I know a lot of fitness professionals who don't talk about the things that they do in private. I mean, I try to be open with a lot of the struggles and things that I've had, but yeah, of course, there's some things that are just like too personal almost and too vulnerable for me to share those sort of things now. And I think that's why a lot of people, it's like, they'll hide a lot of their struggles. Some of them really big, dark struggles that are in complete opposition to what they're telling people. That's a tough one. And then years later, they'll be like, what you guys didn't know is at that time I was really struggling with blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it just makes it hard to buy it, I guess. Okay, this is a big one. This is a long one. This will be the last one. Bodybuilding competitions and/or any kind of competitions related to the body, like beauty pageants, they breed self-doubt, insecurity, and long-term mental health problems. They also skew people's perceptions of what is healthy and fit. If you can detach your self-worth from your body, by all means, compete your heart out. But if the words of the judges and others' opinions deteriorate your own happiness and sense of worthiness, it's not a sport or performance worthy of your time and effort. So I think that bodybuilding competitions have the potential to be incredible for someone's life, for their confidence, for their physique, for their discipline. There's potential there. I also think that getting to that point, you are navigating a minefield of all of those things that this person just said, of self-doubt, of disordered eating, of body dysmorphia. All of those things you're gonna deal with every single one of those things. How you deal with them determines whether or not you're gonna be one of the people at the end who's like, bodybuilding is awesome and it changed my life for the better, or are you gonna be one of those people who are like, bodybuilding ruined my life, I wish I had never done it. Absolutely, I have talked way more people out of competing than into it, because bodybuilding is a very, very, very risky sport. Even when you're natural, even when you're vegan, even when you do everything right to get to the stage, it is not a healthy sport at the end. That's not why people do it. That's not why people do this for 20, 30, 40 years. It's not because it's the healthiest thing they could think of to do. There are other reasons why people love it so much. And it does, in my opinion, if you cross this bridge, if you deal with the fact that, yeah, the judges are gonna tell you you're too fat, the judges are gonna tell you you're too soft, or this glute is smaller than that glute, they are going to say that to you. And if you can't separate yourself from that, you're gonna have a really bad time. If you can learn that their opinion actually doesn't matter, it doesn't change who you are as a person, or your value, or your worth, or your hard work, then you're gonna end up on the other side, and you could very well be stronger for it. So there's a lot of great reasons to compete, and there's a lot of great reasons to not compete. So yeah, I agree, actually, and I love bodybuilding. I think bodybuilding is awesome. It's helped me in my life so much, but not without a ton of pitfalls along the way. So yeah, that's a big one.
Hey listeners, we hope you've been enjoying this episode, and we appreciate your love of all things vegan fitness. For those of you who want even more support on your vegan fitness journey, check out our Muscles by Brussels community and become a member. By joining the team, you are one of our exclusive VIPs. As a member, you'll find over 200 macro-friendly, high-protein recipes that can meet any of your meal planning needs. You'll also receive training programs that update monthly. This training has progressive overload built into it, so you can be sure if you're following the program, you are making progress. All of this and more is located inside our Vegan Proteins Members Only app. As a Muscles by Brussels member, you'll unlock bonus courses, challenges, and more every month. You'll also be invited to our live Zoom video calls, which happen 2 times a month, and are absolute gold to those who show up. And if you can't make the calls, don't worry, you have the opportunity to email us whenever you want. You'll receive a video response to all of your questions from one of the coaches here at Vegan Proteins every time you message us. Members also receive 40% off many of our other services. And of course, our private community of like-minded individuals is like no other. Best of all, you can try this membership out for a full month at no cost to you with this special offer for our listeners only, because we appreciate and want to fully support you. Use the link in our show notes to sign up for your free trial today. We hope to see you on our next live coaching call.
Okay, unpopular fitness opinion number 1 is that you do not have to kill yourself every time you go to the gym. There is this prevalent vibe in the fitness community of like, no pain, no gain. Like if you're not spent at the end of a workout, like it didn't even matter. And not only is that not true, but it is actually usually counterproductive to most people's goals. You shouldn't be killing yourself every single time you go to the gym. Like, yes, it should always feel like effort. It should always feel challenging, but it should not feel like every single workout you left everything on the table. There's no way that you can recover from that properly. You're way more likely to get injured, and you're going to progress less predictably. More on this later. The next one is that I think fat loss is actually really simple, and that is my opinion. Fat loss is very simple. It is not
easy. It is a very challenging thing to do, but there's nothing magical or miraculous or special about it. There's no secrets behind how to do it. It is very, very simple. You need to be burning more calories than you take in. You need to be eating enough protein that you're not burning away your muscle, and you need to be strength training for the same reason. That's really it when it comes to fat loss. I mean, yeah, there's more nuances depending on how new or advanced you are, but there's no like secret weapon up anybody's sleeve that's going to change the mechanisms of fat loss. Hot take. Chipotle is incredibly mediocre. There, I said it. I don't understand the Chipotle obsession. I don't think it's even like a little bit good. I think it is like something I would eat if there was nothing else around, and it's okay. And they put cilantro in their rice. Like, what? Why would anybody do that when so much of the world, myself included, hates cilantro? I'm just saying, there's better options. Holla at Moe's. You better edit that out. Taking pre-workout, especially on a regular basis, will actually make it much harder to recover. Now, I understand why people like to take pre-workout. It feels good. It gives you energy when you might not have a lot of energy. But like with any stimulant that you consume, that energy that it's giving you is basically borrowed from the future. So when you take a pre-workout, basically it's giving you artificial energy that you're borrowing from your future self, and you're able to do more in the gym than you would be able to do without it, right? That's like one of the allures. But going back to that first point of like, you shouldn't be killing yourself every time. You shouldn't really be doing more than your body is capable of doing in any particular workout, because you're not going to be able to recover from it. And what's going to happen is the next day or the next week, you're going to be even more exhausted. You're going to need to take more pre-workout to have the same effect. And eventually you're going to need to have so much caffeine just to like live at a baseline that it's just not a great strategy long term. Now, I'm not saying don't use caffeine. It's a very effective supplement depending on how you use it. And there are ways to utilize pre-workouts, and some pre-workouts don't have stimulants in them at all. And I think some of those are great. But if you do take stimulant pre-workouts, also take a break from them sometimes, because they make it much harder to recover from workouts because they're increasing your work capacity artificially for a limited period of time. So the next hot take is that ass to grass squats are not any better than parallel squats. When I first started squatting many years ago, the prevalent idea was that if you weren't bouncing your butt off of the back of your ankles, then you weren't properly squatting. And this led to a lot of people trying to squat their ass all the way down to the floor without the mobility to actually be able to do this. So they had butt wink and spinal flexion and all of these things that are not great and certainly not making your squat any better. The best way to squat is with proper form as low as you can go, what your mobility can actually allow for, and what makes sense for your goal. You don't get better glute activation the lower you go or anything like that. If you're hitting parallel, you're getting as much activation as you're going to get. Now, this isn't to say that there's never a place for ass to grass squats. This isn't to say that there's never a place for ass to grass squats. There totally is. Olympic lifters almost have to do that in order to get the kind of momentum that they need to complete their lifts, whereas power lifters go out of their way to make sure they are not squatting any lower than they absolutely have to so that they can get the maximum amount of pounds on their squat. So only squat as low as your mobility allows, and that's going to be much better than trying to get lower just for the sake of getting lower. Okay, so in my first hot takes video, I talked about how way more people are on performance enhancing drugs than you think.
Like, way more. And that is still true.
But another thing that I also think is that genetics play a much larger role in what someone's final shape is going to be than we would care to admit. Now, I cannot stand it when someone uses their genetics as a crutch or a reason to not push or change or grow. As somebody who was obese before, like, I kind of don't want to hear it. That said, there are still a lot of things pertaining to your genetics that are going to define some of your limitations. For example, calves are a huge genetic muscle group. Like if you have great calves, you probably have great calves without doing a whole lot for them. And if you have weaker calves, you're gonna have a harder time building them up than somebody that doesn't. You can work them and work them and work them and maybe still not have calves as good as someone that just has like good calf genetics. Likewise with your waist. Some people are just going to have blockier waists. Some people are going to have slimmer waists. Now that doesn't mean you can't work with it. That doesn't mean you can't build up around it to make your waist look smaller. But to a large degree, we get what we get. And rather than just pretend that that's not the case, like acknowledge kind of what your genetic, I don't even want to say limitation, just what your genetics kind of point towards. Look at the people in your family. You're probably going to be shaped kind of like that. My mom and my sister, and we all look different, but there are huge genetic components there as well. Next unpopular opinion, which may not even be an unpopular opinion anymore, I'm not sure, but starvation mode does not exist. So I might have even mentioned this in my first video, I can't remember, but it's still true. There is no such thing as eating so little that you can't lose weight. I still hear people talking about this pretty frequently, like,
Oh, I was just eating so little that I couldn't lose weight.
if that was true, nobody would starve to death. Think about it. Really think about it. If it was possible that you could eat so little that you didn't lose weight, or so little that you gained weight, people starving in other countries would never die of starvation. It's just not true. You can be aiming to eat so little that by the weekend you're starving and then you cave and eat everything. And that can certainly cause you to not lose weight or cause you to gain weight. Or certainly metabolic adaptations take place if you eat too little for too long. Your body is going to try to slow down a lot of systems to try and preserve your body weight and preserve your life for as long as it possibly can. So things like your digestion will slow down, you might fidget less, your core temperature might drop a little bit in order to burn fewer calories. So that is true that your metabolism can adapt down if you diet for too long. But you cannot eat so little that you stop losing weight. That's not a thing. Hot take. I hate the wine mom trope. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I don't think it's funny. I don't think glorifying drinking wine
Because it's noon somewhere and peace, love, and wine.
like, I just don't think that's funny at all. And not just the wine mom. I don't want to make this about moms in general. I just think in general, we tend to kind of glorify alcohol. And I do not say this from a high horse of somebody who never drinks. I do occasionally drink, but I don't think it should be like a cultural norm to overconsume alcohol. Like, it's funny. It's not funny. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. Curious to hear what you guys think about it. Okay, my next opinion is that all exercise is valid. And I have not always felt this way. I remember when I started training, I thought that, and I started as a quote unquote cardio bunny who was kind of afraid of the weight room. And then when I started weight training, I started to look down my nose at people that, were doing cardio or Zumba or step classes. And man, what a crappy thing to do. At this point in my life, I realized that walking is, I mentioned this before, the most underrated exercise that exists. But really, all types of moving your body are good types of moving your body. And if somebody doesn't love strength training, that's okay. If they like running, I don't need to understand it, but that's great for them. Just like if they don't like lifting, there are other forms of resistance training that somebody could do that isn't just going in the gym and doing heavy deadlifts. All exercise is good exercise. All right, the next thing that I never ever want to hear again is the word cheat in reference to what somebody is eating. I'm having a cheat meal. I'm having a cheat day. Every single one of my clients, and they do it sometimes, they slip up and they say it, and I'm like,
You had a what?
and then we change it to free meal or untracked meal or something. It may sound like semantics, but just this idea that you have a cheat meal or a cheat day, cheating is inherently bad. Like, just the definition of it is bad. So when you have a cheat meal or a cheat day, you are implying that you did something bad, not that you're a grown-ass adult who made a decision to have a piece of cake and that's okay sometimes. Like, just a thought. If you are living in a diet where you feel like everything you eat that doesn't fall within the realm of that diet is a cheat or a bad thing or something that you need to be punished for or pay for, it's probably not very sustainable. It's probably not going to last very long. And it's not very nice to yourself either. These are getting sassier as I go along. Here's a hot take. Don't crowdsource your goals on the internet. Every single day I go on Facebook, there's a picture of somebody like posing in front of the mirror or whatever going, hey guys, I don't know what I should do. Should I bulk? Should I cut? Should I what? That is not the place. That is not the forum. And like, if you're just doing it to generate engagement, cool, good for you. But like in general, don't ask a crowd of strangers on the internet whether you should bulk or cut. I just don't think that's a great idea. If you've spent like 2.5 minutes in any fitness forum on the internet, you know that it's like largely a cesspool of poor information with a handful of people trying to give out good information that will very soon become discouraged by the ocean of bad information that they're trying to wade through and will give up and will stop leaving comments on things. So, yeah, reach out to a professional. Like literally even just DM someone a professional on Instagram and ask them what they think. Rather than just like calling out into the abyss of social media on what the world thinks you should do with your body. And also maybe question why you're asking the world what you should do with your body. I don't know. Okay, my last hot take is that body checks on what I eat in a day videos are gross. Every single what I eat in a day video seems to start with somebody blatantly and obviously showing you how awesome their body is, and then immediately diving into what they had for breakfast that day. And the implication is so clear. You want a body like mine? You eat what I eat. And that is so wrong. And it preys on people that just don't know better. And I remember when I first got into fitness, I would try to find somebody else who was 5'7", and I would try to see what they were eating. Like I'd try to find someone that I liked the way they looked, and they're 5'7". Here's what they're eating. So obviously, if I eat that, if I eat those macros, I can look like them. Wow. I mean, super wrong. But you could see how somebody in the early stages would totally think that. So yeah, this whole like, oh, look at my body and then what I eat in a day, the implication of it is super misleading. And also, I think, just kind of gross. What do you guys think?
All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. I hope you liked this episode. Let us know what you think. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to have answered on the podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or on our website, veganproteins.com. And if you're looking for any kind of coaching, that is where you can find us. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.